being that you are a sergeant now, you need some distinction of your rank. So henceforth, you should wear this and wear it proudly, being a sergeant among the Henricus ballistic. You accept it. Take the king's coin and serve us well. Rejoin your rank. Now, Mr. Sergeant, stand by. You there, step forward. You there. Now, what are you? How young were you when you started serving this militia? Well, now, sir, you are a musketeer. You are officially given the speed of safety as long as you serve as right citizen. Take the king's coin and join your ranks. Now, Sergeant, have these men put away their capes in some place where they will not lose them, because that is happening. And drill them well, for later we will be doing some firing. Men, you are now dismissed to the care of your sergeant. Excellent, John. We'll see your seat. Slow out.
Awesome.
Okay.
Shoulder your piece. Quarter your piece. I will rarely quarter your piece down, boys. Shoulder your piece. Now, if you hear the command, to round your piece, I rarely give it, but it's basically just like any other time period. Put your musket down by your right leg, go to the ground with the lock facing upwards. Quarter your piece. Rounded, we're going to turn into the lock and weight, facing the sky, over the left foot, there it goes. Now, good. Freeze your fire. Hold. Well done. Freeze your fire. Maintain your ground. All right, good job. Go to your kids. As you were. That's on you. All right, fine. Now, some of this time is first one. Incline. Left. Order your pace. Rest on your arm. Sir. Yes, sir. Here in a few moments. This is going to be our easiest drill of the day. We are simply going to be going through the commands of loading and firing our various muskets. So if you wish to join us, you can either stay over here by the benches, or you can go behind us by the rope. Either way is fine. But we will tell you, for young ones, that these muskets are various bores and various sizes. They will fire at different volumes. Some will be louder than others. Some might be more startling than others, but be ready. All right.
Ready?
All right, very good. Fall in and Miller, you can fall back to the rear center of the firing line. Fantastic. All right. You men at the end, if you are not comfortable firing live yet, you go to the notes about live now. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Henricus Historical Park. My name is John. I am portraying one of the sergeants of the guard. So my job 400 years ago would have been a pseudo-professional soldier brought here with Sir Thomas Dale to teach the colonists how to fight and how to kill Indians. You have to fight and kill Indians because they're ready to do that to you. So the best way to make yourself up to speed with the Indians is what you see the men carrying right there. If the English do not have firearms in Virginia, the English will die in Virginia. A Powhatan Indian boy is raised from this big how to be lethal with a bow and arrow. When you're back in England and this big, you're taught how to do yard work and raise pigs. Far different cultures. So for most of the men coming here, they're not used to firearms. 90% of them never had them in England. So Sir Thomas Dale arms all the colonists as men such as what I portray, teach them how to use these weapons, and then possibly you survive as a colony. So what we're going to do is the very beginning of being a soldier with these muskets. How to stand, move your musket, load and shoot your musket. And then this afternoon, I'm going to take these files through the drills that the English learned from the Dutch while they were fighting the Spanish. Very complicated, close order drill. All right, so what we're going to do, I'm going to do a one through with the men on how to load. That will be a dry run for practice. The second time will be with gunpowder. So there will be a boom. I will let you know when that second time is surely upon us. All right, any questions before I begin? All right, very good, very good. All right. Order! Okay. Shoulder your piece. Good. By the numbers. By step. With your right hand, join your piece. On shoulder your piece. With your left hand, join your musket. Ready your piece. Prime with powder. Just dry run. Dry run. On slow with powder. Well done. All right. With your left hand, raise your musket. By your left, let it sink. Charge your piece.
This is strange.
Go forth, your hammer. Grab your charge. Return your hammer. Raise up and ready your piece. Copy that. Hold your pan well. Present your piece. Get fire.
Bang!
Load your piece. This time, just dry. Go through the motions all the way. Dry run. Now, each musketeer. That's what a man who's trained on a musket is called. Have you heard the word musketeer before? Yes. You're familiar with the movie, are you? The book? Yeah, in that story, what weapon do they not use? Muskets. Why, I don't know. But anyway, these men are going to get to the point where they can shoot, good man, 2 shots a minute. Professional Spaniards, Dutch and English soldiers, 3 shots a minute. So that's your goal. All right? Quadrant, secretary. Get fire.
Bang!
All right, on top your match. Order your piece. Check your gear. Make sure you're ready. How's that one? All right. Now you're going to notice once we shift over to gunpowder, things start to slow down. The men were working real quick there. So you'll see that they'll take a few more beats. I'll take a few more beats. Now the key here is this. If you've got 50 Indians running at you in the woods, you have to be very, very deliberate on what you're doing. If you throw down your gun and say, I can't do this, and run away, who wins the foot race? You or the Indian? The Indian. So this training is critical. And later on, eventually, we'll show you how they can fire this 2 or 3 shots a minute and not allow the Indians to close on them with that much time. All right, let's see how well they do with powder. All right, counter, hold your piece. Roll your mat, well. By the sticks. We'll load our pieces. Right hand, join your musket. On shoulder your piece. Join your piece to your left hand. Ready your piece. On your hand. All right. Guard well your hands. All right. With your left. Musket be up, down. With your left hand, raise up your musket. Down your left leg. Let it sink. Charge your piece. One scoring stick. One scoring stick. Round your charge. Turn your scouring stick. Raise up your pace. Come to the ready. Down aim. Good. Elevated. Well done. Top your mat. Hard while you can. Well on your match. My squadron, present your piece. Give fire. Load your pace. Now remember, 20 to 30 seconds. That's what your goal is. Ready your piece to the front when you're done. Hard while you can. Wait for order. Front, at the ready position. That lets me know you're ready to shoot. Don't need to run down the drill field. Guard while you can when you're ready. Make sure that the matches are cocked right. Guard while you can. Guard while you can. While you're not. From the right file, starting with Corporal, present your piece. Give fire. Reload.
That's all.
Mode, cease firing. Ready your piece. All right. We're going to do one last volley. When we are done, we are going to string ourselves along your front. You're going to be able to come up and handle the muskets and see how they feel. And be able to ask our men about their gear. All right, now, let's see if we can give one good volley as a send-off here. Ready your pieces. Matches, hard and well. Make sure they're in the right spots. Make sure everything is perfect. Ready your pieces? Blow your knot. Squadron, present your take. Give fire. Uncuff your match. Core your feet. Spring rammers. Turn your scouring sticks. All right, second file. First file. Show me your piece. Right back to you. March on. Very good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to dismiss my file here. They're going to come along the line. This is your chance to hold those muskets. See how they work. Ask the questions that you want to ask. All right, very good. All right, first file. We're dismissed for 5 minutes. We'll reform when we're done talking. God save the king! All right, you're dismissed. Enjoy the crowd for a few minutes.
Our particular unit is the Queen's Own Loyal Virginia Regiment, which was raised in the fall of 1775 at the orders of Virginia's Governor, Lord Dunmore. As you can see, we don't have uniforms. We've got kind of a mix of equipment and weapons. That's because as loyalists, we are volunteers. We're not professional soldiers.
How are you?
And in a lot of cases, these men had to flee their homes with whatever they could carry, whatever they had on their backs. Once they declared their sympathy for the king, they were wanted men. So the Queen's Own gets several hundred recruits, mostly from around Norfolk, Virginia Beach area, the very southeastern corner of Virginia. And they fight throughout Virginia and the Chesapeake Bay until the summer of 1776, when they were finally forced to flee. Thousands of men, women, and children take to the seas. Most of the women and children head to British held Florida, where it's safe. The men go to New York. And when they get to New York, the Queen's Own Loyal Virginia Regiment is disbanded. And most of the men and officers become part of an elite loyalist unit known as the Queen's Rangers. They're given green uniforms, the better to hide in the woods. They're going to be trained as light infantry. They're going to be trained to skirmish, to fight in small groups, to do hit-and-run attacks, guerrilla warfare. And they're going to fight just about every important battle of the American Revolution. And in 1781, those Queen's Rangers come here to Virginia. So these men who have been kicked out of Virginia, who have left their native state 5 years earlier, they're back, and they're at the vanguard of the British Army in Virginia. These local guys are using their knowledge of the area to hit and run and raid strategic points all throughout the state, including the Virginia State Navy's shipyard, which is right across the river from where we're standing at Osborne's Landing. In April of 1781, the Queen's Rangers lead the British attack on Osborne's Landing. They capture the Virginia State Navy's vessels, they burn them, they completely rout the rebel militia, and in some ways they kind of get revenge for what happened 5 years earlier. The Queen's Rangers will continue to fight with the British forces until the surrender at Yorktown. And at that point, Loyalists really aren't welcome in America. Most of the Queens Rangers, and indeed most Loyalists, end up moving to Canada after the war. Over 80,000 Loyalists are refugees, and they move mostly to Canada, also down to the Caribbean. So, we're going to go through a quick firing demonstration here, and then you'll be able to hear from some of the other soldiers who fought the Virginia campaign, including some British regulars and some Continental infantry. So,
He's on. Let's go. Shoulder your fire. Right about face.
This was the best reload. You put as many colors on there as you want.
He's in. What?
Okay.
I don't know. When I was like really young, like dad would push me. I always put a shoulder down. So I was going on the shoulder.
Here.
Still sketch.
Are you going to have pink?
What?
Hold on.
Fire by ball.
So what they're doing now is they moved into an extended order. This is what you'd be using if you're skirmishing. If there were any cover trees, they'd be taking cover behind them. And I'm no longer giving the commands to fire. Each man is going to fire kind of as individuals. So the weapons that we're using are a mixture of military muskets and civilian hunting weapons. Andy and I are carrying civilian weapons, Fowlers. So basically the shotguns of the day. It's a smoothbore weapon. Albert has a British military musket, shortland pattern, or a brown vest.
Oh, that is older. Good.
French military musket. There are a lot of these older French, Spanish, and Dutch weapons being used by militias in the colonies. All of these weapons are flintlock, which means that they're fired by a mechanism that uses a piece of flint that strikes a piece of steel, creates a spark, and that will set off the weapon. After our presentation, please feel free to stop by our camp if you have any questions about the Revolutionary War, about Loyalists, or about anything that happened here at Osborne's Landing. We'd be more than happy to answer those for you.
Hey, you know, parents it might be an incentive for parents.
All right.
Oh,
Just take a minute. Close the border. Mark. Right about? All right. Thank you all very much, and hope you enjoy talking to the rest of the Revolutionary War soldiers that you see here today. Thank you. Take care. Oh, be more vocal than that. Yeah, guys shooting guns.
My name is Scott Douglas, and the men you see before you are portraying soldiers of the 7th Regiment of Foot. They were a British infantry unit that was part of Wallace's army that invaded Virginia in the spring of 1781.
Cornwallis's troops coming up from North Carolina, where they have been fighting some major battles against the American forces. We're not the only British troops in this region. In fact, prior to Cornwallis's arrival here in May, there was another British army of about 3,000 men, commanded by Major General Phillips, that had left Fort Smith, were coming down the James River, some on boats, some marching along the river road on this side of the river. They actually fight a pitched battle against the Americans at Petersburg at the end of April of 1781, and also, as my provincial compatriot mentioned, a battle right here at Osborne's Landing. That troops here, commanded by Benedict Arnold, a former American Army officer who had been treated pretty roughly and went back over to the British side. These commanding troops right here on this very piece of land in 1781. But while the 7th Regiment was not here for that battle, our uniform, how we're dressed, how we're going to drill for you, is pretty representative of most of the British Army that you would see in Virginia at this time period. You notice that the men may not be exactly the image that we have from popular history of the British Redcoats. We're not wearing tightly fitted knee breeches with long leggings or gaiters that bind up the legs. We do have cocked hats, and the men have their signature red coats of the British Army, but a lot of the rest of the uniform has been adapted for campaigning here in North America. Instead of breeches, we all wear long trousers with gaiters, and these bottoms fitted to them that cover the tops of our shoes. The Americans use some of these as well. They're going to keep pebbles from getting in your shoes. They're going to keep your legs clean, and are basically a great garment if you're moving through a lot of underbrush and briars. They're going to do a good job of protecting you. We're not in our full marching order. The men don't have their knapsacks and everything on. They're equipped as they would be for combat right now. Simply with their equipment, they need to load and fire their muskets. Much like the arms the Loyalists were demonstrating, we are carrying flintlock weapons. And as Travis may have explained, of course, the sharp flint would strike sparks off of the steel face, and that would ignite your powder charge placed in a pan. The fire transfers to the barrel, the main charge explodes, and your bullet is projected downrange. British-produced weapons like this short land-pattern musket are 75 caliber weapons. They fire a 1-ounce lead ball that is quite nearly a full 3/4 of an inch broad. By this point in the war, the British, like the American Army, are also adding buckshot, smaller bullets to their cartridges, so when this smoothbore weapon fires, like a big shotgun, you actually have a spray of lead going down range, and you might kill or wound multiple enemy soldiers. Being a smoothbore, the range is limited. You're really only accurate to about 50 yards or so. So maybe from here to the food vendor, which didn't exist in the 1780s, at that range you can hit what you're aiming at. But any further, and it becomes very questionable where your bullet's going to go. That's why in this time period, the basic fighting formation for a company of soldiers is a line. Again, in our popular myths about the American Revolution, we envision the British always being shoulder to shoulder, incredibly tacked in close, and marching very slowly and steady like robots towards the Americans. That's not really the case. They do need to maintain a linear formation to concentrate their fire and do destruction to the enemy. But here in North America, the British are often outnumbered by the American soldiers. So they need to make their line longer so the Americans can't get past their flanks. And to do that, we have a formation that's open. The standard way of fighting has a gap of 18 to 24 inches between these files, between these pairs of soldiers. Again, not shoulder to shoulder as we tend to think. This is going to make the American riflemen that are so vaunted have to really earn their pay, especially if we go into a looser, extended order like this. It's harder for the Americans to hit us, and it's also easier for the men to extend their line and not be outflanked by those Americans. The British, again, instead of just standing up in the open all the time, as we saw the Loyalists doing as well, they're taking knees, they're lying down on the ground when necessary, and they're actually running at times across the battlefield, or at least moving very, very quickly to catch up to the Americans and deliver the full force of their fire.
Right.
What we're going to do for you in just a moment, the soldiers are actually going to go back a few paces, and we're going to put you in the shoes of an American force defending Osborne's Landing here. The men are not going to be firing in this demonstration.
At the open order, right dress.
Although you guys are a great target, you're doing a good job. So the men are, but they're going to demonstrate how quickly that advance will happen, how rapid the rate of fire would be at the time, and of course, what it would all finish with, a charge with the bayonet.
To the right about, lay down. To the left about, wheel. All the way around. Run.
Again, since the range of smooth-bore muskets is limited, soldiers do need a secondary weapon to perform hand-to-hand combat with. Some of the militia are carrying tomahawks or swords and cutlasses, but military soldiers, province soldiers, are given a bayonet when possible. In the case of the British, this is a 18-inch long blade fixed by means of a hollow socket to the muzzle to the end of the barrel. I can still load and fire my musket with this in place. As you see, the blade is off to the side. But when I get close enough to stick somebody with it, it works pretty well.
Alright. You're demonstrating
Another word about uniforms, you'll notice there is a man in the back of the line that's wearing a bearskin hat. He's got yellow lace on his uniform and is not carrying a firearm. That man is a musician. He's a fifer. Musicians were a common mixture of armies in this period. Drummers and fifers are actually going to act with the troops to not only keep a marching cadence to keep the men all moving together at the same pace, but they can even relay different commands both in camp and on the battlefield to wake the men up, tell them it's time to eat, tell them to advance, tell them to load, tell them to fire. In the heat of combat, you often can't hear spoken words. Your officers are going to start losing their voice, shouting at a large crowd of men over gunfire, but pipes and drums really help relay those orders.
Take care of things, man. We can go. Man.
Gotta give me a minute, okay?
Tony,
While we have a nice open space between you and the soldiers here today, much combat in this area is taking place in forests, or at least very broken up terrain, old growth woodlands like this hilltop, where you have little underbrush but lots of big trees that can break up your tight formation. So again, another advantage of having these big gaps between the files, you can maintain that straight line and have the men just pass right through trees and underbrush. You see, the men have already gone through the loading sequence. A well-trained British soldier in this period is actually going to be able to load and fire 4 shots every minute. The best the Americans can typically do is 3 rounds per minute. That's important. When you're at such a close range, at less than 100 yards, and you begin firing and advancing on the enemy, the more shots you can deliver on their force, the more damage you do. If you can fire more than they, you're probably going to win the battle. The men have fired, they've loaded, they're advancing just across the battlefield.
Hold! Make ready!
Maybe 20 or 30 yards.
Reason!
We're going to present together. At this point, you all have 3/4-inch pieces of lead flying by your
Charge your
head! Knocked out of the ranks next to you. The men are going to charge forward. Many of you don't have bayonets as Americans. You're not trained to fight with them. You certainly don't have the discipline of these troops. What are you going to do?
Cover. Rodeo on.
That's just a little bit about the British infantry soldiers fighting here in the spring of 1781. Folks, again, as the Loyalists and the Conscientious have mentioned, please feel free to come over to our camps, learn more about the soldiers and their equipment. Thank you very much for coming out to Henricus Park today. We appreciate it.
Group of Virginians. We are actually all captured down at Charleston, so there are no Continental troops actually here at Osborne Landing. They were all militia troops. They'd be dressed as here on the side as militia. Weapons everyone else had, except we do have 2 different rifles here for you to see after we fire the cannon. At this battle here at the site, the Chesterfield militia tried to stop the British. As you heard, it was unsuccessful. They ran from the British regulars. The British were commanded by the traitor Arnold, and he had an extensive knowledge of the Virginia area because of his loyalist troops with him. So they had a little bit of advantage. They were able to move up and down the James River and attack at will, basically. There was a battle, like I mentioned, over at Petersburg with Major General Phillips, and then they came over here to burn the Virginia Navy. We also are portraying on the right-hand side of the cannon are the Continental Artillerists. The Virginians were known first as Harrison's Artillery. They were formed over in Williamsburg. They then were drafted into the Continental Army as the 1st Continental Artillery. We would be a detachment. General Knox would have sent a detachment down here. This is a grasshopper gun, two galloper guns, and a place for a horse in it. They were grasshopper guns, which are approximately the same size, but they were a little bit different. They had a limber. This is about a 10 gun. As you heard, muskets fire from here, about 50 yards away. That's what we would be using, something called canister or grape shot back in the time period. Those would be small musket balls put in and used as a big shotgun. So if you were packed in like you are now, it would be great for us. But as you heard, the British learned, we don't pack in tight, we kind of expand out. So we're going to start firing a lot farther away than a rifleman or a musket can, probably between 200 and 300 yards. And we're going to try to break up that formation with a round hard shot. If you've ever seen the movie The Patriot, the ball bounces along, that's how it would be. The ball would literally bounce along. Also in The Patriot you see exploding shells. That's for the Civil War boys over here. We don't have exploding shells. If you see a movie and there's a cannonball and it comes down and explodes, it's not right. We have a hard shell, it bounces. It has lots of force. We're trying to kill and maim as many soldiers as we can, but if we only get one, we break up their formation. That's what we're trying to do. We're going to go through the drill real quick. I'm going to explain what we're going to do. We'll bombardier right here. We're going to fire, then we're going to explain the drill again. He's going to turn the vent, and they're going to search the piece. They're going to sponge the piece. We're going to load the piece. We're going to yell the command give, which means you should probably cover your ears and open your mouth. You're going to hear the command fire, and there'll be a big boom, and then they're going to go through it again, and I'll explain it one more time for you. And then after we're done, we're going to go to the right-hand corner. The gun will be secure, and for the young'uns, if they want to run through the drill with us, they're more than welcome to go through the drill with us. Gun Sergeant? Take command. Take command. I can get a
Give you a little bit of information.
Now, you are going to put the balloon in real quick, and you can start putting your beads down. You're not going to need any more help.
And if it's your blues that snow, all you gotta do is pick it up and squeeze it. The one that's lavender lasts for a good long time. Spearmint is very strong, fade, and you can still puff it up a little bit.
And make sure you push them all together so that if you push them together, you can put more beads on it. Quick and simple, that's on one band.
Again, you'll see the ball again.
Okay, we need that other one.
Over the vent hole. They're clearing out the remains of the last charge. And if you heard the sound, that's a vacuum being created. That's what actually puts out the fire. It's not the actual water that goes in there. That's not what puts it out. It's the vacuum. Remember, fire can't burn without some oxygen. That's what puts it out. Then what would happen is the number 5 man, also known as a powder monkey, will take that powder up to the wormer, hand him the powder.
That one has to go.
Then the wormer would charge the piece again. Now, some of the commands that we're missing here, just so you know, which are different, is we're not bringing up grade for round shot at this point. Sponger now is the rammer. You've rammed down that cartridge. bombardier pricks the piece with a brass piece. She's going to pick the cartridge, so now she puts the quill in. The gun is ready to fire. Again, lets everyone know we're getting ready to fire. Now you heard the British said they could fire 4 times in a minute. How many times do you think we can do this drill in a minute? Anyone want to take a guess? Come on, guess. 2? 6? Anyone else? How about 15? The Germans, when they had a competition, did it 15 times. What portion of this do you think they left out? I'll give you a hint. There's one guy here we don't really care about. Huh? That's right. We're not going to sponge anymore. Raise your hand. He's going to lose his right arm probably somewhere between the 7th and 15th shot would be our guess. What's going to happen is we're going to take him a cartridge, we're going to put it in, and he's just going to ram the cartridge home. We're going to bring up another cartridge, he's going to ram it home. We're just going to keep firing continuously. We can do that about 15 times in a minute. Very dangerous, and of course we, in this century, don't do that. There is an account at Long Island where the British did this to the Americans. The Americans had no idea about this loading method back then. And basically, 2 German cannons took on 5,000 Americans. 2 cannons, 5,000 Americans, Americans run. That's how powerful these things are from the time period. There's very little that can stand up to grape shot when we start firing at 100 yards. If they can't hit me at 100 yards and I can fire 45 musket balls times 15, fire 4 times 60, who's going to win that battle if you can't hit me at 100 yards? I don't care how many you fire in that minute, right? I'm still hitting you, we're killing you, we're driving you back. Now, more than likely, the Americans and everyone still want to sponge. We don't want to lose here or anyone else. This actually George Washington has told us that the British close with us. And the bombardier and the rest of us are to run away. You ask yourself, why would George Washington want cowards in his army? He doesn't. He needs trained men. The bombardier here knows all of the cartridges. He knows Latin. He knows mathematics. How many schools are in America at the time? Not very many, right? Hampton City has just been formed in 1775. William & Mary's here. Harvard is here. Not very many. How many artillery colleges are here in America? 0. There's none. So when the bombardier dies, we lose all our knowledge. So we have to protect the bombardier. There would be gun, as you say, 5 used to operate it. What do the other 10 do? They help move the light cannon around. Remember, there's not very many roads. There's not a lot of horses. A light cannon that can be moved around the battlefield. Put that out. Other bottle. We have 2 riflemen. They're going to come up. They're going to show you their rifles. They have 2 different types of rifles. One is a Jaeger rifle, which would be the shorter one. One is a long rifle. They are not like the musket. Again, they can shoot. They'll tell you about their weapons, but they can shoot farther and more accurate than all the muskets I put together, probably. And this is one of the Bobs and the other Bob. Bob, tell me what kind of rifle you have.
This is a Virginia-style long rifle, a 50 caliber. With this, I can hit one of those 3-year-old baby goats at 250 yards. 200 yards almost every time. And they call us shirt pickers. They put a bounty on us. We're not after the dead, we're after the officers. Everything that's got an epaulet or brass piece that's called a gorget hanging around the neck or a sword hanging on the side is my target. We would work on the flanks and out of scouting. Because the British soldiers are trained, but they can't think. So if you take the officers away from them, they don't know what to do and they generally run away. Cut the leadership. They're kind of a Billy mob.
Why don't you show how to load from the horn? He's going to load from the horn, which is different. Remember, everyone had cartridges, right? You saw them, take them, rip them, put them in the pan, put them down. He's going to do it by the horn, which is different.
Wow.
I carry my gunpowder in a horn, or caliber.
Oh, okay.
And I have a charge. It's a powder measure. What I do is I pour charge For the horn. Into my measure. It takes me about a minute to load my rifle. So I can get off with the British come across the field like they did that. I can, if I'm in front of them, I can do one maybe two hits. So that's why I shoot the officer. Take the measured charge, pour it down the muzzle. Then I take the ball. I lay it next to the on the muzzle, I push it. Ball in here. Barrel is right there. The ball wrapped around the ball and engage. Pull out my snap knife and trim off the end.
I see somebody, I'm just like, here, just
Just like the British. So I put on half pot. I pour just a little bit of gunpowder.
I got like 6. I was after exercise for another hour and a half.
Then I close the steam. And I'm ready to go.
That's how I get up there.
Fairly good one. I have to deal off.
Bob? The other Bob? Jaeger Bob?
This is the grandfather of that one. German? German state. Came over to the colony. They brought within their knowledge and their use of rifles. Now in Europe, the rifle barrel is much shorter. It's still just a dragon. It still shoots just as hard, as long as you use really good powder. Now, if I use musket powder, which is the issue to this, I lose velocity on my ball, and I lose a little bit of action. However, it's a light shooting, and I'm older guy, rifle my ball is here. This style of rifle,
You guys want to do a craft?
during the American Revolution.
You got there $1. You could also make sunflower. And then also you could make corn. Do you want to do it this way?
Because we were such a team. And he's right. We'll shoot him also. Because it's like, in modern terms, it's like knocking at the radio. There's no communication. I'm not going to bother shooting mine because it actually just sounds and looks the same way. I would load the same way. I can load 4 parts of power. But you still have to push the ball down the hole. Why don't you and Mom pick one? And he's right. It does take about a minute to load. Because if you see the British doing this to load, loading a patch ball especially if you're using musket powder, any kind of powder, only about a third of it burns. The rest of it is in fact, rifling was originally invented to try to get some of that balance out of the barrel. They just discovered by accident that you shoot the ball mixed with
Color in your sunflower, like the color
You get to piece of grass. They're really going to make it like your preference. That was just a down white last year. Are you going to be able to go there? Oh,
here's the British talk about their bayonets. Did I put a bayonet on the rifle? But this is what we carry. We're close in fighting. I'd really rather not get it. I don't want to. I would rather run away. But if I have to, I'll use this. Even if I have to. When you're fighting with long, don't run away. The other thing about rifling in general is that while the British infantry would be firing at the other end, quite often the riflemen were firing at the I'm interested. Me off like that. Now you do that a few times. Nobody's going to stand in front of the gun to search the piece, load the piece, or anything like that. They're going to stand there. What you going to do?
Yeah, we were going to
That is one of the advantages of that rifle. At long range, we can know that rifle. We can start shooting the horseman a lot further. Consider how fast the horseman is. A couple of shots in 200 yards, that does a lot.